other one is very shallow. Basically, the camel is leaning on one side of his body rather, relieving the other side. That tells me that there is a step, the legs are not equal. One of them is broken. The other way, I look at the dropping of the animal. Usually, the camel, when he does his, stuff, and it drops his droppings, with his tails, he scattered them this way and this way. But it seems that this camel has ornamented the street right in the middle. So he said that I see the droppings in the middle of the street. What it tells me, that the camel does not have any tail. So if this guy could see from those evidence, can find out the identification of this camel by looking at this universe, we cannot find the God, we cannot identify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look, when you look at the diversity of this universe, look at the animal kingdom. When you see so many millions of animals in such diverse way, and how they are connected to each other at the same time that you see multiple amplitude of those animals, yet you see them, they are connected in one way or another, then you realize that someone who has created them, the person who has created them is only one. You see, sometimes those people who have feelings for art and know about art, when they see some sort of paintings, you put multiple paintings, they can identify that this paint belongs to this artist, and that paint belongs to that artist. Why? Through the style. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look at this style. When you look at my style and you see this animal kingdom and you see how they are related, and once you remove one of them, you make imbalance, you create imbalance in this world, then you realize that I am you. Take for example, remove one animal, remove the vultures, the falcons, the eagles. Once you remove the eagles, next day, after a few days, you see amplitude of rottens and lizard and other kind of animals. Remove the lizard, you see plenty of spiders and arthropods. Remove the spider, you end up seeing many small insects. All of those are connected one by one. All of them have a purpose in life. They're not created all, in arbitrary way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created all of those, for each one of them has put a purpose. They say there was a Khalifa was very upset about the cockroaches. You know a cockroach. So one day he was sitting and he said, I wonder why God has created those cockroaches. A few days later, he developed a skin problem. I think in English it's called abscess. You know what abscess is? It's little fluid or pus that start to accumulate between the skins in the cavities. In Arabic we call it jaraha. So it stays right there, or khurraj in Arabic it's called. So that he started to suffer from this. So he called the doctor. When the doctor came, he grabbed a few cockroaches, he ripped them off, got the guts, fired those guts, burned them, and put it right on his skin to cure him. At that time, the Khalifa realized that what is the benefit of the cockroach. One day in Mansur al-Dawaniqi, Mansur al-Abbasi was sitting, and next to him was Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. And there used to be a fly sitting on his nose. Then he will, try to move it. It moves again, take a tour, come back, sitting on his forehead. Give him hard time. The guy got very mad. He asked Imam al-Sadiq, he said, I wonder why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the flies. Imam al-Sadiq replied to him, he told him, لِيُذِلَّ اللَّهِ بِهِ الْجَبَادَ. It's to humiliate the arrogant. Someone like you, the only thing that can humiliate him is the dhubab, the fly. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He creates His creation, and we look at this diversity, we pay attention to His greatness. At that time we realize His eminence. So number one, in this ayah says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ وَمِنَ النَّاسِ وَالدَّوَابِ وَالْأَنْعَامِ. Number one, look at yourself. How many kinds of a human we have? How many races we have? How many languages we have in this world? Only in India there are more than 1,500 languages. how many ethnicities, how many nationalities we have, how many religions we have, how many ethnicities we have. All of those, when you collect them, when you look at them, you see the inside is the same. The human is the same, the brain is the same, the organs are the same. How all of those multiple differences, all those multiple people showed up, all of this diversity emerged. How did it emerge? Just looking at the human. And despite this, you see there's something also common in all of them. Their organs, their cells, their proteins, their DNA, all is basically the same, made from the same material. Look at the manufacturing plant that creates a human. You see, in these years, actually back from 1920, when the production line started, you know what the production line is? That in any factory, when they want to produce an item, they start from A until Z in automated fashion until it's produced. The factory or that plant works on one item, or there is only one production line for an item, from A to Z. The raw materials get together until that is formed, and the nuts sit, the bolts sit, and everything until that item is finished. There is no two items independently are made in one production line. That against the wisdom tells you you will waste money, you will waste energy, you will waste resources. Don't do it this way. Rather get specialized. In one production line, you need to create only one item. At the end, you assemble all of those. But look at the production line of a human being. At the same time that the hands are made, the legs are made. And both are equal. Look at the symmetry. This hand is exactly same width, same length as this hand. What does that tell you? Those evolutionists who say that this is all has come by probability, meaning by nature, randomly all of those have come. Why the probability doesn't, why nature doesn't make a mistake that one hand would be bigger than the other hand, or one eye becomes bigger than the other eye. At the same time that the head increases in size, the eyes also increase in size. The eyebrows also increase in size. And you see exact symmetry. You don't see one guy has a bigger eye this much while the other eye is so small. Well, that should be due to probability. If they say this is a probability, and a probability does not have intelligence, does not have a brain, then it will create on a random basis. So why we only see symmetry in those? Why don't we see, for example, the eyes below the nose right here in the forehead? If this is based on probability, it should be all randomized. But we don't see those. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look at yourself. Look at this human being that has been made out of 1,000 trillion cells. 1,000, you know what trillion is? 1,000 trillions of cells. Yesterday I was looking at the amount of atoms in a human body. We have 7 to the power of 27 atoms. You know what power of 27? I don't know what the name of it. But put 7 and put 27 zeros. That many atoms we have in a human being. This much is this a human being. But when you look at him, he considers himself very weak. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says, أَتَزْعُمُ أَنَّكَ جُرْمٌ صَغِيرٌ وَفِيكَ انطَوَى الْعَالَمُ الْأَكْبَرُ. You think you're a tiny little piece, a species, but in fact, the entire universe has been accumulated inside you. Look at the diversity that we have. You don't see two people who have the same fingerprint. Those dermal ridges that we have, and we impress on a surface, we never even have two impressions that are equal, that are the same. Out of those 6 billions and half people, you never see two fingerprints that are the same. At the same time, they have the same components in their lives, all made from flesh and bone and everything, but their fingerprints are different. Look at these findings have been found in recent years. You know, when you go to some certain airports, you see that they have eye scan. What is this eye scan for? It's to take a picture of the iris of the eye. Now, they have found recently that the color of the iris, it is completely unique. If you have even two identical twins, two genetically identical, meaning both have exactly same DNA, yet their iris color is different. It is so intricate and so delicate and rich in colors that every one of us have completely unique set of eyes. Therefore, they identify by taking, these high resolution images from the iris in order to identify people from. If you check 6 billion people, you see all of them have, each one has a totally different iris, color, and components than his brother, than his siblings, than his father and mother. Look at the nucleic acid. This is another topic for the molecular biologists that I like to tell you about. Every human, actually not every human, every living thing should have a material that ensure its existence and survival. That material is all compressed into a molecule called DNA. This DNA is so tiny, actually it is coiled, and if you open it, it is longer than 1 meter. But it is so coiled that it is less than an angstrom. You know what's an angstrom? It is 1 in a billionth of a meter. A billionth is 0.34 angstrom. Less than 0.34 of a billionth of a meter. This is how much it is when you coil it. And that is in the nucleus in the cell. This will tell how do I look like. What is my features? What is my eye color? What is the texture of what is the color of my skin? What kind of diseases I have? What is my physical abilities? All of those are all included in this piece of molecule. And this is when you check it, you see all of this DNA is made out of 4 different components. 4 components, 4 different bases. But they sit together in a way that you don't see any living thing has exactly the same DNA as his counterpart, as his brother, his sibling. You never find like this. There are more than 3 billion bases sitting next to each other in a scattered form, in a random form, that each one of them becomes unique for his own. And it's completely different from others. Yet, at the same time that we have our unique DNA, at the same time they can find out who's our biological father. I have completely different DNA than my father, but at the same time they can identify my biological father through this DNA. Isn't that surprising? At the same time that you see the diversity, the dispersion of this molecule, at the same time you can trace it to the parents. You can see the relationship between the father and the son. At the same time, when you study the human genetics, the human DNA, study it with other animals, do you know that we share 85% of our DNA with the mouse? I am the one who's behind the podium and talking to you. 85% of my DNA is same as the rat. Same thing. 30,000 genes we share. Exactly. The only difference is those 15%. That 15% makes someone here to give you a headache and talk in the microphone, while that rat runs from a hole to another hole and get caught by the cats. Here is the difference. Only 15% of the DNA. Isn't that amazing? Here, you want to see the diversity? You want to see the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Look at the animal kingdom. Just pay a visit to the zoo. You see all those. By the way, it's good to visit the zoo. First of all, we make salat al-rahim. We get to see our relatives. Those are, if we have 85% of our DNA, the same as the mouse. Well, I don't want to talk about the horse and the apes and, the rest of the animal kingdom. You see how close we are? This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said.